What's happening, guys, and welcome back to Sliced. Before we start this video, I just want to remind you guys to follow me on my socials at sliced_YT, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I post almost every day, every other day. I try and post as much as possible there compared to here where I don't post as much. So if you want to keep more up to date with the kind of food that I'm cooking, go ahead and check me out on my socials. I leave a link in the bio. But without further ado, let's get right into this video. Today we're going to look at pizza. We're going to make some really beautiful, simple pizza. And to get started, we're going to have to take a look at the dough. Now this dough is like the sort of magical recipe. It can be used for focaccia, it can be used for pizza, you can make like normal loaves out of it. It's a really versatile dough. And if you've seen my focaccia video, I'll leave a link below. You know I'm using this recipe from Gennaro. It's just perfect, it's flawless, I love it. We're going to take 325 mils of lukewarm water. That means it's the same temperature as your skin. You should be able to run the water over your hand and it doesn't feel like there's any temperature change. We're going to add 7 grams of instant yeast to this and give it a good mix. Let it sit on the side for 10 minutes and you should have like a little kind of yeasty raft that comes to the top. If this reaction doesn't happen, you might want to add a teaspoon of sugar to this to kind of speed up the reaction. But if nothing's happening at all, your yeast is dead, you need to replace it with a newer tin. So while that's chilling out on the side, we're gonna go ahead and mix together 500 grams of strong white bread flour. You can use wholemeal if you want. I'm gonna use white bread flour. We're gonna mix in about a couple teaspoons of salt. I'm using sea salt so that it kind of incorporates into the mixture a lot easier. You don't want to have any kind of tears if you roll out sea salt. So I'm mixing in this table salt with it. And once your yeast has bloomed, we're gonna add this mix into our flour. A little drizzle of oil on top if you want, and we're just going to knead this together really well. Using a machine with dough hooks or using your hand, you're just going to activate that gluten. The kneading part here is incredibly important. It's going to really activate and work up that yeast, and also kneading it and activating that gluten is going to allow your pizza dough to be nice and stretchy and have those lovely air pockets. And if you don't knead it well at this stage, well, you know, you're just going to be left with a sort of pizza biscuit, which no one really wants. You want a nice crunchy soft pizza, so knead it really well at this point. It should reach a point where it's really kind of elastic and tacky and it springs back when you push it in and it feels really firm and tight. That's when you know that you've got some good gluten going on. All I'm simply going to do is oil the base of a bowl, pop the dough in, lightly cover the top and let this rest in a warmish area for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. We're then going to divide this dough into 4 balls. You can divide it into less if you want a thicker based pizza. Just kind of bear this in mind and play around with the mixture. And what I'm going to do next is important. Now if you don't have a pizza oven like most of us don't, you're going to have to use your regular oven. This is where a lot of people go wrong. Firstly, they have the oven on way too low. A pizza oven is incredibly hot inside, so what I'm going to do is whack my oven temperature right to the top. Like, my oven goes up to gas number 10 and I'm just cranking it right to the top. Like, it can't get hot enough. I'm talking, you want it so hot that you're sweating just standing next to the oven. It's got to be hot. And let it preheat while you're kind of doing the rest of these tasks. It's going to be really important. The next important thing is what you use to cook it in. Now if you have a pizza stone, that's the best thing because it's a great conductor of heat. If you don't have a pizza stone, you need to use whatever you have around you that's going to really hold the heat in the base. These thin metal... One second, let me find something. There we go. Thin metal trays like this, you know, stuff like that, it's not the best thing. If you're trying to develop a crust, you want to get a nice heavy based pan. Cast iron pan is great for this. It's really going to hold that heat. So what I want to do is sort of take my dough ball and not even using a rolling pin, I'm just going to use my hands to gently stretch it out into a nice circular kind of shape. I'm just going to gently pull it out over, filling the edges and sort of use my fingers to make like a sort of, you know, dimple, crinkle, crimp, something around the edge until you have that nice crust forming. I'm going to use literally like maybe a ladle's worth of passata. You want to use as little as possible. You don't want to have that really soggy pizza. You want a small amount just to gently kind of lift all the flavors around it. You can add a bit of garlic or some herbs to this sauce if you want. I'm literally just keeping it as it is and just spreading it lightly over the base. At this point, I'm going to take a nice heavy grating of Parmesan cheese. You can use pecorino if you want or any other kind of hard cheese. Parmesan I think is great. And I'm just going to grate it really heavily over the base. Once I've done that, I'm going to take some beautiful mozzarella. I'm not going to use a knife. I'm just going to tear it with my hand. Have those lovely sort of variations of pieces going around the pizza. Tearing off a few fresh basil leaves. You can put any other toppings you want at this point. I'm keeping it simple and just dropping those basil leaves on top. Covering it with a light drizzle of olive oil. And this is gonna go in our oven, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a bit longer depending on the heat of your oven. I wanna let it go in as long as possible. I love those burnt edges that you get on a good pizza. That bitterness really works with the sweetness. Now let's give it a taste and see what it's like. Firstly, can we just appreciate the dark spots? Can you see that? The dark spots underneath it? You want that nice burnt kind of bits at the bottom. Let's try. Lord have mercy. That is what I'm talking about right there. I'm gonna cut this short because this is too good. Guys, this was a really fun video to make. Really simple, quick, cheap, and surprisingly easy. This is a great one to try out. Hope you guys like it. Send me pictures if you do make this at sliced_YT on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye.